So, moving on to Secret Level. Um, so I've watched a decent amount. I haven't watched all of it yet, but I stopped at the episode after the Mega Man episode. Um, man, man, this is a show that exists. So, the first episode. So I know you watched the Pac-Man episode. Have you watched any more?
Not yet. Just the Pac-Man one. I haven't had the time.
Yeah, it's definitely a show where like you just watch once it's interesting. You don't have to watch all of it. Like, whichever
Right,
one's cool.
yeah.
I
I do
definitely
want
see.
to.
So go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, is the Mega Man one out? I forgot.
Yeah, the Mega
Because
Man one's
that's been
out.
on my radar.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that one definitely
So I'm
is
gonna
on
go.
my watch
I'm,
list.
I'm gonna go through the ones I've watched, and then I'll tell you the ones that I think you should check out. So the first episode was a D&D episode called "The Queen's Cradle." On the hunt for a dragon cult, a band of adventurers rescue a boy who's haunted by a sinister force. So I've talked to you a little bit about this, you know, off the podcast, but like something I don't like about the show, and something that the creators of this show, their other show, Love, Death, the Robots on Netflix does, is that the art styles are too homogenized and they're all too realistic. This episode is one of those episodes that looks so real that you sit down and you go, why did you even animate it? What was the point? See, the thing is, because these are based off video games, my mind immediately goes like, if this was a trailer for a video game, which in a lot of ways, every single one of these episodes are basically trailers for video games, it makes sense, because like in a video game, you're controlling the game. You're controlling this thing that looks like a real person. This isn't something that you can't do that in live action. There's no way to do that in live action. That's not how that works. You can't make a game that's live action that is also controllable. The only time you can do a live action video game is when it's like a visual novel. You know what I mean? So it's like that makes more sense. But like when you're gonna make an animated like short, to me, animating something at that level of realism is just wasteful. To me, maybe it's disrespectful to some of these artists, but it's like, to me it feels like a waste of time when it's something that could just be done in live action and you're trying to make it look that way, and it's not the case of like a Avatar movie, you know what I mean, where it's like real people standing beside these CGI creatures. It's just everything CGI. It's like, I don't know, man. I just think that's stupid.
No, yeah, I totally agree. It's like, what's the point? It is a waste of time, and that's not like a diss to any of the artists or anything. It's like, for all that, instead of like, taking out the time and the bigger budget to just animate it, you could have, you could have done it in live action. Would it have been interesting? As interesting? Probably around the same level, but like, it feels like a way more resource intensive way to get the work done. And it's like, if you're going to animate it, I feel like it should be,
It should
especially for
take
stuff like
advantage of the
this.
medium.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you're going to just make it look realistic, I know that's like the trend right now with like CGI, because we're proud that we have really, really strong computers. But like really, really realistic, like almost live action animation does not stand out to me nearly as much as stylized, like, stylized animation. It's not going to stand out to me. It's not going to be memorable to me. And I wish the industry would kind of realize that.
Yeah, and I want to say that this isn't the worst example of that in this show so far. This one is a little bit more understandable because it's D&D. There's dragons. There are otherworldly creatures that can't really be done. I mean, technically, they can be done live action, like prosthetics and stuff. But like for the most part, they're a little bit easier to do in CG. It's why a lot of that stuff nowadays gets done in CGI instead of them doing prosthetics, which they probably should do a little bit more. So this one is a little bit more understandable than one that I'm going to mention later, which is like, don't watch that episode. It's ass. It's like you watch it and you go, clearly the people who make this game just footed this bill, because why did you make this? This should have just been live action. So, last but certainly not least, and funnily enough, the Mega Man episode titled Start, which is clearly meant to be a joke because the episode's 6 minutes long. And it barely starts. It gets good. Mega Man is like, this little origin story. He's like, Dr. Light is telling him like, no, you can't fight the robots. I'm going to send this robot out to go fight robot. It's Bomb Man. I thought it was Air Man at first, but it was Bomb Man. And then, Bomb Man gets infected by Dr. Wily, and then Mega Man has to fight it, and then he's like, okay, Mega Man, you know what? You can fight, and then he sends him off to fight, and then the episode ends. I've never been more mad in my entire life. It was just
That's
getting
so
good, and it ended, and I'm
disappointing.
like, this better be a setup for an actual Mega Man show. But okay, that aside, I'm sorry. The art style was so ass. It was not great. It wasn't bad. It was still stylized. It was like modern CGI Disney movie. Generic.
Ooh, ew. Not for Mega
Disgusting.
Man.
Like,
Yeah, no.
like technically Mario does the same thing, but they retain the iconic Mario designs, right? Like they do the generic 3D animated Disney thing, but with the iconic world and character designs of Mario. So it still looks good, right? Am I wrong?
Right. No, not at all.
But they didn't
I
do that
really
with
like
Mega
the way
Man.
Mario does it. That's ridiculous. I'm almost
Here's
offended.
it's you know why it looks bad? It's because Dr. Light looks like Dr. Light. Mega Man does not look like Mega Man. They tried they over designed him. That's exactly what they did. They over designed Mega Man. How do you do that? I don't know. But they did, and he looks bad. And also, it's not colorful enough. If you've ever played Mega Man, those levels are colorful as hell. This show is drab and gray.
I was gonna say almost to the point of being too over colorful.
Like, check it out for sure, you know. But like,
Mm,
I was disappointed because it was so short.
I'm looking at the concept art,
The
and
concept art
it's
looks good.
so disappointing.
Some of the
It's
concept art
so
looks good.
fire.
Because I just randomly followed one of them. He posted it on his social media. I was like, oh, he worked on this. And like, yeah, I was like, oh, this looks better than what we got.
Right.
Yeah,
Mm,
it was upsetting.
tragic.
I was so disappointed.
Tragic.
But